It's called the Welch Foundation. The odds are that many of you may not have heard of it, but it's based here in Houston. Its efforts are making an impact around the world as scientists search for ways to cure some of the deadly diseases of the world. Dr. Adam Kuspa, president of the Welch Foundation, and for 65 years it's been doing this. Dr. Kuspa, thank you for joining me this morning. Do you fund scientists to actually do the research that people want answers to? Right now, people want to know, when are we going to get a vaccine? And your scientists, the people you fund, are actually working on that right now, are they not?
Absolutely. As you may have mentioned, for over 65 years, the Welch Foundation has funded about 400 scientists around the state of Texas in chemistry and biochemistry, and they work on the really foundational aspects of biochemistry and chemistry. And as related to the current pandemic, for instance, they study the biochemistry of how viruses interact with the human body and how they work to replicate within the human body and how to potentially interpose in that process.
How do scientists share the information and come up with an answer? I mean, obviously, what your researchers do, the scientists you fund, they do a lot of research. Is that's shared within the medical community so you can come up with an answer? Is that how that works?
It's shared pretty much immediately as soon as they can publish their work. In fact, there's actually pre-publication archives I was going through yesterday on COVID-19. There's hundreds and hundreds of articles that have been published about the current pandemic, so that the information is distributed pretty effectively, and the international collaboration you've seen to try and combat this disease has been pretty impressive.
Most recently, the drug remdesivir, I think that's how you pronounce it, has emerged as an ongoing, an encouraging treatment for this. How does the research differ for finding a treatment as opposed to finding a vaccine?
Well, the remdesivir story is important because, as some of your viewers may know, developing a drug from the basic science all the way to human trials and FDA approval can take upwards of about 18 years. So the reason it's important to try and look to repurpose drugs like remdesivir is you get to short circuit that process to maybe a 2 or 3 year period where you can just test for safety in the particular indication, and then, of course, efficacy, which we've seen some indication of recently.
There have been pockets up to now, there have been some pockets of our communities who've indicated that vaccines are bad. They don't want anything to do with it. They're anti-vaccine. This pandemic is probably painting a pretty broad picture about the value of vaccines, is it not, for your community?
Well, absolutely. I think if folks study this a little bit in terms of the history, for about 160 years, vaccines have been among the top 2 or 3 most important medical advances in terms of saving lives and reducing suffering. Going back to the smallpox vaccine in the late 1800s to the polio vaccine, people who are older than I am remember the complete shutdown of activity in this country in the early 1950s when there was a polio epidemic.
Right.
That was stopped only by a vaccine. And so it's important that these vaccines are tested to ensure their safety. But once that's been done, their efficacy is usually the thing that will stop things like pandemic.
We've got about 40 seconds left here. I want to ask you about going forward here, that the process, as difficult as it may be, you've indicated we may have to learn to live with COVID-19.
Well, even the reports yesterday around the 102 vaccines that are in development currently, the lead group in Oxford says that they could have 30 million doses by September, assuming everything goes well. Our country says maybe by January we will be in full production for vaccines. But if you just think about the logistics of vaccinating everyone, that won't happen until about next summer. So I think we have to learn to live with this virus for at least a year.
We're going to talk more about that on our Newsmakers Extra. Dr. Kuspa, thank you for being willing to come in and talk about this. I encourage you right now to go to the Newsmakers page, which is on clicktohouston.com. Very